Okay, so final day. It's Friday, guys. Happy Friday. So today I'm sharing the bonus attribute that I felt was missing in the list of the 2017 Gallup poll, which ranked the top 5 attributes people consider the most when searching for a new job or a new company. So first, I'm going to recap those 5 in order. Number 1 was the ability to do what you do best. Number 2 was greater work-life balance and better personal well-being. Number 3 was greater stability and job security. Number 4, we talked about yesterday, was that significant increase in income. And then the 5th was to work for a company with a great brand and great reputation. So the bonus attribute that I believe was missing from this list is thriving culture. So when most people think about culture, they think about fun or free. Like some of the things I shared around greater work-life balance, such as free meals, happy hour, office yoga, kickball teams, and things of that nature. And again, these things do not create culture. What creates culture are people. People create culture because you want to work with people you like, and people who care about you and your development. So if you remember back to Tuesday when I shared number 2, greater work-life balance and better personal well-being, the top 2 things that people want to know about the people they work with is that, are they empathetic and are they flexible? Those 2 things matter the most when it comes to culture, which again, people create culture. So with this bonus, I'm going to dive into the empathy piece because it is so important that, especially in 2019, and especially with the current state of affairs that is going on in our country, we want to work with people we care about, and we want to work with people who care about us. We want to work with people who accept us for who we are, and we want to work somewhere where we feel we belong. So people think that kind of sounds like diversity and inclusion, yet it's not. Diversity and inclusion is more of a recruiting tactic to ensure there is equality within the organization and the job opportunities and the promotions and how the org chart is laying out. So here's the thing. Most companies do not expand their diversity and inclusion into cultural development. And when you think about that, inclusion is everyone is accepted for who they are, whether they're a parent, whether they are a homeowner, whether they have a hobby, whether they have, dreams of working, abroad or not. They get to bring all of that to the table because all of that is who you are. And I said this earlier this week, and I shared this last week in a piece that I did for our blog, was that, in 2019, we are no longer living up to this notion of we're going to check our personal lives at the door. That no longer is happening because when we check ourselves at the door, our personal lives, we're leaving most of us at the door, right? We can't separate ourselves from ourselves, right? So again, most companies are not expanding their diversity and inclusion operations to really fit within a cultural development setting. Because when you feel cared about, when you feel accepted, all parts of you are accepted, and when you feel like you belong in a workplace, that significant increase in income does not matter as much. Because what matters more than the money is your peace and your joy, which is what is created when you feel cared about, accepted, and when you feel like you belong. And plus, when we are peaceful and when we're joyful, we create better work. The 2 go hand in hand, which will soon attract that significant increase in income if it hasn't quite yet happened. So in a different study by Gallup, it showed that the #1 driver for job search when they're on a job search for millennials and women is culture. So the majority of people out there looking for jobs who are millennials and women, the number one driver for them is culture, which means it's the people they're going to be working with. It means so much more than everything else. And that's why I felt it was important for me to add this bonus attribute, which is culture. So when you think about that, you know, when we think about a thriving culture, that we want to feel empowered, right? We want to feel driven, lit up. And when you think about culture, it's more about how you feel more than what you're getting, right? And in that same study that Gallup did, 60% of US employees would be willing to take a slightly less pay if their employer showed empathy. Isn't that interesting? And 77% of employees here in this country would be willing to work longer hours for an empathetic employer. How cool is that? And the reason these numbers are so high is because people feel alive, they feel empowered, they feel light, they feel creative, energized, inspired, they feel driven and excited to be a part of a culture that is contributing to who they are, their development and their growth, and part of a culture that they also care about too. So when culture is thriving in the workplace, people work late because they want to, not because they have to or that they're on a deadline. And when culture is thriving in the workplace, clients spend more money because they feel that same energy. They feel accepted. They feel like they belong. They feel like they're cared about. And they know how much you care about them, and it's easier to close business and new business because of the results and track record you're creating because your culture is thriving. And in fact, when a culture is thriving in a workplace, clients refer new business because they experience, the experience of working with you and your team is something they want to share with their network. So we do this, right? When we go somewhere and the waiter was so nice to us, or we check into a hotel and the front desk agent was so great, we tell people about it. We tell people about how nice and how incredible and hospitable we felt on the airplane because of the hostess, right? Or the host on the plane. And I just dated myself that I called a flight attendant an air hostess. So when my clients are going through the interview process, this is one of the top things I have them look for, and it's culture. So it's not so much in the questions that they're asking or the questions they're being asked. I ask them to physically look around and see what's going on within the work environment. And I also encourage them and invite them to ask for an office tour. Do you know how many people go on an interview? They check in at the front reception, go into one office, come out and leave, and they have no idea what the office is about. They have no idea what the culture is about to see what's going on. What does it look like? What does the office look like to you? Can you see yourself working there? What does it sound like? What is the decor? Like, do you like the decor? I know for me, I cannot work under fluorescent lighting. And I would feel like, oh my gosh, if the office had fluorescent lighting, I don't know, I'd have to bring in some soft lights for myself. And we also, one of the things we also have our clients do is ask questions about the culture if the person interviewing you hasn't disclosed yet. And to notice, does the person who's interviewing you, do they introduce you to anyone else along the way? Like, even if you're only walking to one office and back, if there's no way that the person has time for a tour that day, notice if they introduce you to people or if they just walk by other people in the hallways. And then also listen to what's said and not said throughout the interview and wherever else you are, whether it's in the reception, in the elevator. We coach our clients all the way until they get to the building. Like, we make sure they're really cognizant of everything that's going on, because in this regard, culture matters. It's one of the top reasons people quit. It's one of the top reasons people get fired. And it is one of the top reasons people choose a company. and a new job. So I'm curious, how important is it to you when searching for a new job and a new company that the company has a thriving culture? Let me know in the comments below. And also, next Monday through Wednesday of next week, I will be sharing more about the job search process and more about your dream job. So I cannot wait to see you guys next week. Have an awesome weekend.